What is up and welcome back. We are your Colorado real estate family, and it's been a bit since we have done a pros and cons of Denver, Colorado.
All right, let's go.
If this is your first time watching, Pete and Chelsea, Sweeney here, and what we like to do is cover the Denver Metro and all of its surrounding cities, giving that boots on the ground advice that you might need if you plan on purchasing a home here. So if you are looking at purchasing some real estate, give us a call or text that phone number right below. Right below, we always answer, it doesn't matter day or time.
If you are not ready to purchase, no worries. Hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you are notified when we are covering all these new cities.
Here we go. We're going to hit the ground running with 5 pros and 5 cons, starting out with those pros. The first pro being the job market in Denver, Colorado.
It is no surprise that Denver has a thriving job market. It's actually up 2.8%, but in the next 10 years, they have a prediction that Denver is going to reach a growing of 45% in the job market, which is actually up from the U.S. average of about 34%. So we are suspected to be one of the most thriving cities. The one thing that I thought was really interesting when I broke down the job market as a whole, now I did geek out for you and I have to get out my pink note because I wanted to show you the population by occupation. So the highest population by occupation, I know it's like a tongue twister.
It only took us 3 times. If you want to see those takes, hit it out to the end of the video and see the bloopers.
Oh lordy, this is what happens when I take notes. Okay, but the Denver, so the professional, scientific, and tech sciences is 14% in comparison to US at 7.6. So that is very big for Denver. Healthcare is 12%, whereas US is 14. So keeping up with overall healthcare statistics. And then the only 2 that were outside of that were actually relatively high in Denver is going to be education at 8.6%. And then retail at 8.2. Other than that, majority of our other occupations were significantly lower. So if you are in those industries, Denver may be the perfect city for you. The second pro of Denver is going to be how active Denver actually is.
In fact, on a recent survey, 82% of the residents did exercise within the last 30 days.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. People come to Denver because of how beautiful it is. And we have 4 seasons. That kind of plays into our weather that no matter what the season is, somebody is going to be either outdoors doing something, or even some of the rec centers take fitness to even the next level. Okay, the third pro in Denver is going to be that minimum wage. If you are moving into Denver and you are going into a job, you can expect that the minimum wage is going to increase in January 2024. It's going to be up at $18.29, which is crazy. I was like thinking about our first job and like when we were working, like
I think I was making 6 1/4 at Target.
Well, that shows that you're a little older than me. I was like, I think I was making $8, but still 18.
Big bucks over here.
I know, right?
Yeah, sugar mama.
$18, guys. Even in the food industry where tips are calculated into that, it's going to be up $1 as well at $15.27, as long as the tipped worker is making it $3.02 in tips, which is crazy to think how much the food industry has gone up as well. We're actually going to cover how this can be a con later in this video, so stick around when we get to the cons. But if you are moving in and you are in an entry-level position, or your kids are going into the workforce, there is going to be a high minimum wage that they're stepping into in Denver.
The fourth pro that we're going to be discussing is the neighborhoods and I guess all the trendy housing that we have in Denver. I mean, just kind of like at the top of our heads system. So like High-Low, Low-High, Highlands, Park Hill, Wash Park, Congress Park, Rhino, Governor's Park, like all these trendy areas. Like someone says like, what's the hot spot in Denver, Colorado? And we're like, it's like, what do you prefer? I mean, there's all kinds of different
probably
ones.
Easier to go
Cherry
the other
Creek,
way.
like there's just so many to name. Denver is so full of all these different trendy areas, and it's just all kind of like, what's your flavor, right? It's like, would you rather have like a lake in the middle with a huge park surrounding it, or would you rather be where like all the hot bougie boutique and stuff?
I was like, did you say?
No. But yeah, so it's like, it all depends where you want to be. But yeah, Denver is just full of all those super unique neighborhoods, and there's so many to list.
All right, the 5th and final pro that we're going to be covering today is the great schools. Now, some of you will be like, wait. If you are from Colorado, some of our big counties outside of Denver are some of the top rated schools. However, if you were to go and look at Denver County, it's actually rated, the Denver School District or Public School District is rated as a B. If you were to scroll in, it's not necessarily the overall grade of Denver that gets this list on the pros list, but it is the fact that there are so many options.
Yep.
There are over 20 schools that are A and above. I would say about the same if you were looking for B and above. There are schools we'll pop up a map right here, but if you are looking for a school, you will find it.
Yep.
It's just going to be a matter of where you're going to be living.
All right, it's that time. We are now going to hop into those cons. Was the first one being is if you are planning on being a landlord or an investor in Denver, Denver's not the best spot to purchase rental properties.
All right, a new bill that's going to be passed this next year is going to be that HB 2310, so House Bill 23-1068.
Yep.
This is going to be something that if say you're a long-term landlord, they are capping out what you can do for pets in rentals. And I don't know about you guys, we own long-term rentals. It's really hard when they start kind of controlling some of the, what you can charge for what, because there's certain things that are higher risk for, housing, especially, it's so specific that it goes all the way down to what kind of house you have and if there is a bigger liability for these pets, like your flooring, for instance, things like that. So what they're doing with that is they are capping the pet deposit at $300, and they're even capping the pet rent each month. I think it's $35. So if you are a landlord, you really need to know what some of these new restrictions are going to be, because that is going to kind of probably determine whether or not you're going to accept pets. And if you don't, Colorado's super friendly to pets. There might be some, changes in what that looks like for renters.
And so early on in this year too, something that went into effect is essentially you are limited as a landlord to look at, credit history or income for the tenant that you are wanting to screen for a property that you possibly own in Denver. Also on short-term rentals, so we have long-term and we have short-term rentals, so we kind of look at both of these things. On short-term rentals, you have to have that 50% occupancy, so if you do want that Airbnb, VRBO within Denver, you're going to have to occupy the residence 50% of the time, which it's pretty much after that fact, it's just if you want to rent out a room within your house that you're already living in.
Yeah, there are a lot of things coming down the pipes for landlords, whether you're doing short-term or long-term. Denver is not super friendly to that, so you have to look into each of those things before deciding to invest.
Yep. The second con that we're going to be talking about is property taxes, and I wouldn't say this is exclusive to the Denver area. This is actually something that happens statewide. With Gallagher being repealed the way that it was, we're seeing a lot of property taxes going up pretty much statewide. Like, we just saw ours go up like crazy. We're like, what? It went up how much? And with Gallagher, you pretty much had that ceiling, how much your property taxes were going to go up. With that ceiling being gone, it's like, I don't even know what they're going to be next year. I know they are trying to do some legislation to try and regulate that a little bit to figure out how they can keep them from pretty much, blowing up, ballooning the way that they are. But yeah, expect to pay those higher property taxes within Denver.
On the tax topic, let's go ahead and cover sales tax. This is also a con. It is 7.7%. The U.S. average is actually 7.3%. So Denver is higher than the U.S. average, and we definitely can feel that when shopping around.
Yep. Also, Denver, with those combined, we know when we're talking about pretty much state and then also city and local municipality, you got an income tax rate of 4.8% over in Denver. Yeah, some of these states, like we have a lot of people moving from Texas, they don't have that state income tax, right? And so, but everyone was always saying, yeah, but Texas has high property taxes. So now you have high property taxes and the state income tax. If we compare that to like the U.S. average state income tax, the U.S. average is 4.6%, so a little bit higher, not too much higher. But yeah, like I said, now we're dealing with those high property taxes and also on top of that, your state income tax.
All right, the third con, which I told you I'd come back to, is that high minimum wage. Now, because Denver is so business friendly, this high minimum wage is also going to be a con. So if you're going in and making minimum wage, it's a great pro. If you are a business owner and you're having to pay that high minimum wage, it makes it really hard for business owners to keep down the cost without rising it for the consumer in order to pay these high minimum wages. We saw that when we owned an assisted living facility that, in order to keep people in certain industries, you're having to pay more than minimum wage, but that means that now you're having to drive up prices for the consumer. So we are seeing that kind of affect some of the business owners, and especially when choosing to come to Denver, they're weighing those pros and cons of that.
Yeah, it could definitely be a huge burden on some of these small business owners where they are having to pay more in wages. Guess what? They're going to have to raise their prices with the inflation that we have been experiencing these last couple of years on top of that. And so these small business owners are kind of freaking out a little bit. They're like, what am I going to do? I can't sit here and charge my clients $30 for a burger, no fries, So
Gotta use the burger reference.
So, that's just, I always look for the burgers and stuff. Yes. So, but I'm just saying that it could be a huge burden, and it's like hopefully small business owners will be able to navigate a way in order to still keep in business and stick to those minimum wage requirements.
All right, the fourth con is going to be the homeless situation in Denver. Now, there are pockets of where this is going to be felt more versus others, so we always strongly suggest people come into town and drive around. However, the homelessness rates are increased by 31.7%, so almost 32% from 2022 to 2023. 15% of that is under the age of 18, which like literally makes me so sad. But so this is something that we saw, especially when I used to work in the hospitals. We saw a lot of healthcare dollars also being spent on our homelessness, especially with our colder season. I think that's something that we see really affect kind of the healthcare cost of all of that. So that is going to be something that affects Denver significantly. And just to kind of give you an idea of where that ranks for Denver, Denver is rated the 10th highest city in the US for homelessness. So this, I sound like I'm a reporter. I was reading a bunch of news on this and it makes me so sad. So I think they are trying to do things, you know, to be able to help with this. We're looking at, you know, different homeless shelters and different ways. They always ramp up their services when it's colder out because we know that that's typically when a lot of the hospitals will be flooded. But this is something that Denver is going to have to do something about.
Yeah, so Denver just had a mayoral race. A mayoral race, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I think it was probably about a year ago, and this was the top agenda that so many people were asking the candidates is, what are you going to do about the homeless problem that is kind of popping up in Denver, Colorado? So all we got to kind of do is, I know they do have some solutions in place, so they're trying to see what they can do to decrease that homeless population because it has become a problem in Denver in the last couple years.
All right, the fifth and final con that we are going to be covering is the growth and the infrastructure of Denver.
Yeah, so here's one thing that we were kind of looking at. And so you have Denver, which was essentially a small, big city, right? So whereas like it was always known as the capital of Colorado and all that stuff. Through the 2010s, we had all this massive influx of people coming in here. And so it was like almost overnight. It went from a small city into a big city. The infrastructure, we're talking about like your water resources, or we're talking about your electrical grids and all this stuff. It couldn't sustain the massive population growth that it did experience. In fact, Gross Reservoir is like the top locations that we love to go camping at. And there's this huge thing where they're like pretty much the reservoir, they're increasing it 100 feet, I believe, in height. And there's like everyone up there because it's up in Boulder County. Like, we don't want this happening and stuff like that, but that's Denver's water supply, and they're running short. They're like, guys, we need to have more storage for our water. So they're increasing that. They're constantly seeing road construction through the Denver area. And so they are trying their best to kind of get it up to where it needs to be. But then after that, it's like, all right, then what? Are you guys going to have to spend another 10 years trying to get it to where it needs to be, or what? So. And
that's the thing is, if you go on Denver's website, you will see plans after plans after plans of how they are dealing with this. So it's not that they're not planning for it. But if you are living there, you're going to feel these plans, you know, with the construction and all that. Everywhere you go, it feels like they are planning for this 10-year drive of trying to accommodate for it. So it is a con, whether it's a con for not preparing early on, or now a con of just having to deal with them preparing now. All right, we have covered 5 pros and 5 cons. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and comment down below. Also, let us know what different cities or different topics that you'd like us to cover. We love your suggestions. We do all of these videos for you. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. And then also hit that notification bell because we are covering different cities every week.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in the Denver metro area, give us a call or text that phone number right below. Right below it there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time. Till next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.
In fact, in a recent survey, 82% of residents. Okay.
If you're not ready to buy, no worries, but hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and no. Ready?
Yep.
No worries, but hit that subscribe. What is it called? Is the occupation or is the pop? Ready?
Yep.
That way you can kind of see how many. What am I trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's really cool, babe.
I know, but I don't know what you're trying to say.
Okay, let me start that over.
I'm just here to...
Shut up. Let me just... I did geek out for you, and I have to get out my pink notebook because I wanted to show you the population by... The second con of Denver is going... Oh. Ready?
In fact, 82% of adults are known to exercise within the city on a daily basis.